Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some prayers don't echo out loud. They don't thunder through temples. They don't shake the room with sound. They begin as tremors in your chest. They escape in whispers, and they feel like they disappear the second they leave your lips. But they don't. Heaven hears differently than the world. And some of the loudest movements of God begin with the quietest words of yours. You thought you were just speaking into the dark. You thought maybe God was too busy or too quiet. Or maybe, just maybe, you got it wrong. But what you didn't know was this: that one whisper cracked open a ceiling you couldn't even see. You weren't trying to manipulate heaven. You weren't trying to force anything to happen. There was no bargaining, no show, no drama, just a raw, unguarded moment where your soul finally said, "I can't carry this anymore, but if you're out there, please see me." And he did. Not because your words were fancy, not because your posture was perfect, but because your heart was honest. There's something sacred about the prayers that don't come with solutions. The ones that aren't sure what to ask for, but still ask. That's what this was. And heaven has been organizing answers around that whisper ever since. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a vast landscape, bone dry, untouched by rain for years. The kind of place where even the dirt has forgotten what softness feels like. Now imagine, one drop falls. Just one. From a distance, it doesn't look like much. It doesn't change the terrain instantly. It doesn't cause a bloom overnight. But below the surface, that drop seeps in, and it awakens something ancient, something sacred. Roots that were dormant begin to stir. And even though nothing looks different yet, everything has started to shift. That was your prayer. The one no one saw, the one you almost didn't say. You didn't need to scream to be heard. You didn't need a spotlight for it to matter. You didn't even know if it would count. But it did. And what's happening now in your life, and this strange rearranging of people, opportunities, thoughts, feelings, delays, it's not chaos, it's choreography. It's God adjusting the path because of what you whispered when no one was listening. Most people wouldn't understand that kind of prayer. They think power comes in volume. They think divine recognition comes through rituals and routines. But what they don't know is that heaven pays attention to alignment more than attention. And when your whisper aligned with your surrender, that was enough. More than enough. That's when things started to move on your behalf, even if it didn't look like it right away. Even if it looked like silence, you're walking into the results now. And it might feel strange, even unfair, because some people who've prayed louder, longer, or with more confidence, they're still waiting. But your prayer came from another place. It came from the intersection of exhaustion and trust, of brokenness and belief, of letting go of control and still daring to hope. That kind of prayer doesn't float around looking for approval. That kind of prayer goes straight to the throne, and that's exactly where yours went. You don't even realize the amount of spiritual weight that was lifted the moment you said it. You didn't feel the chains fall. You didn't see the shift in atmosphere. You didn't sense the angel who stood at your side to carry the message upward. But it happened. You're not imagining the changes in your spirit lately. You're not crazy for feeling lighter, even when nothing outside you has changed. You're not weak for crying more, resting more, questioning more. You're just in the afterglow of a prayer heaven took seriously. And now God is preparing you not just to receive the answer, but to recognize yourself when it arrives. What if I told you that the moment you whispered that prayer, something in the timeline cracked open like an egg, not shattered, cracked, not destroyed, revealed, like something had been waiting under the surface, and your voice, soft as it was, became the key. That's how delicate the divine is. It doesn't always need thunder. Sometimes it just waits for truth, a moment of complete, unfiltered truth. And once it gets it, heaven begins its quiet descent, like mist rolling in over a field at dawn. You don't notice it all at once, but everything starts to feel different. Here's what you might start seeing now. Not fireworks, not lightning bolts, but subtle disruptions in old patterns. People who used to pull on your energy suddenly fall quiet. Places you used to feel stuck in start to feel too small. Delays that once frustrated you start to feel like divine detours instead of roadblocks. You're not imagining it. Something has shifted. You may not see the answer yet, but the architecture of your life is being rebuilt to hold what you asked for. That's how heaven works with whispered prayers. It answers by making room. Think of it like this. Imagine asking for a beautiful, delicate piece of stained glass to be delivered to your home. But your house, it's cluttered. Every surface is full, every wall already covered. If heaven dropped it on your doorstep today, it would crack under the chaos. So, what does God do? He moves furniture. He rearranges walls. He clears space where you didn't even know you were cramped. And yes, it might feel unsettling at first. Things will get moved. You'll wonder why certain people left so suddenly, why the job didn't come through, why the text never arrived. But that's the blueprint breathing. That's divine architecture unfolding. You didn't just ask for comfort. You asked for clarity, for alignment. You asked for something sacred. And now, everything that doesn't match that prayer is making its quiet exit. Some people around you will call it coincidence. Others will say you're lucky. A few might even resent you for changing. But they don't know what it cost you to whisper that prayer in the dark. They don't know the silence that followed. They don't know the discipline it took not to chase answers, not to fill the gaps, not to retreat into noise. They don't know that you stood in the middle of spiritual disorientation and stayed still long enough for heaven to find you. That's the part no one applauds. And that's what made your whisper so powerful. Let me remind you of something important. Heaven isn't impressed by volume. Heaven is moved by surrender. And surrender isn't weakness. Surrender is when you let God be the author again. When you stop editing the outcome with fear. When you stop bargaining with your timeline. That's what you did, whether you realized it or not. And that's why things are changing. Not because you finally got strong enough, but because you finally got honest enough. So now, don't rush to explain this peace you're feeling. Don't apologize for the blessings that start to find you. Don't tone down the glow that's returning to your eyes. This is the response to the faith that whispered instead of screamed, to the decision to ask without knowing how the answer would arrive, to the sacred act of letting your soul speak when your mind had no more logic left to give. That's why God is reintroducing you now, not as someone desperate for clarity, but as someone worthy of revelation. And here's what's next. The right people will begin to show up, not because you called them, but because your spirit became the invitation. Rooms will open that don't make sense on paper. Opportunities will align that you thought were lost. Clarity will land not in pieces but in waves, because God didn't forget your whisper. He built a moment in time around it. He traced your voice into the architecture of destiny, and now it echoes through the places you're about to walk into. You may never tell anyone about the moment you whispered that prayer. You may keep it folded like a letter in your heart, but you'll feel its ripple every time peace enters a room before you speak. Every time someone says, "I don't know why, but I feel led to help you." Every time favor finds you and you didn't fight for it. That's what happens when heaven hears what you thought was too quiet to matter. That's what happens when God hears what you whispered. Your life is already changing. This was the knock. Now watch the doors swing open. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.